Glory be to God. It's November 15th, 2023. I wanted to put this video out before you continue to watch the video that you're watching right now. The videos that you're about to witness is past videos that I'm just now releasing to everyone. This was part of my purpose, part of God's will, to expose the enemy, because that's what the Bible tells us to do, to expose the enemy. This is a learning video. The videos that I put out is not to disrespect my wife. It's not to embarrass her, because I love my wife. I'm in love with my wife. I've been through this journey of spiritual warfare for a reason. And I hope everybody looks at these videos with a spiritual eye and a spiritual mind. And if you don't know the Word of God, get into it, read it, have a better understanding, and then come back and look at these videos. My videos, they all will have dates on the videos, so you can watch them in order. It's a reason why you have to watch them in order. You're going to see me grow in these videos. You're going to see how God maneuvered and changed things in my life in these videos. These videos is for everybody out there that may be going through the same thing I'm going through, but don't have no answers. Well, in these videos, I'm going to show you what spiritual warfare looks like. I'm going to show you how to fight and know the strategies of the enemy, like the Bible tells us. Why they do what they do. Trust me, I searched all over YouTube for the last 8 years, and I haven't came across nobody that's really had video evidence of demonic demons controlling people that they love, or somebody explaining through their experience on live of what just took place and why it's happening. I need y'all to go back and watch my testimony series so you can have a better understanding of who I am, and watch these videos in order. I will put the dates on them, and my thumbnails will be color coordinated for the years from the time I started until today, and what changed and how did it change, because it's different type of demons that control, and they all do something different, and I'm gonna break every single one of them down on how they do and what you have to do to fight it based off God's word. I thank y'all. I love y'all. And just know I did this for y'all. I did this for y'all. I love y'all. I don't even know y'all, but I love y'all. I love it. I love each and every one of y'all, because this was bigger than me. It was bigger than me. It was bigger than my wife. It was for y'all. This is what God wanted me to do. Enjoy the video. This is part 2 of my testimony. From what I left off, I said I'm not gonna hold back. So what that means, I'm gonna tell everything. I'm gonna tell all the dirty, nasty things that the enemy did in my life. I believe, for me to get to where I'm at, I had to experience a lot of different situations because it helped build my character. I believe that God gave permission to the devil, and he's been trying to prove God wrong his whole life. My whole life. That I'm not going to be the man that God wanted me to be. And he tried to make things difficult in my life. Like I said, my upbringing, my family, friends, workers. I feel like I've been through so much that my own family don't even know. But I'm gonna let it all out, because I feel like whoever's watching this video, something I might say, they'll be able to relate. And something that's holding them back, they might feel like, okay, he's been through a similar life that I've been through, if not worse. And if he let God take the wheel, then I should let God take the wheel. If this is the outcome that this man has now, right? So at a young age, I moved around a lot. And I went to, like, I want to say maybe 7, 8 elementary schools alone, from San Diego to San Francisco, in between Los Angeles, Orange County, Valley. I lived everywhere. My dad was a hard worker. He worked at a steel mill, and then later on worked at McDonnell Douglas as an engineer. So my dad made good money. He made good money to support his family, but my dad never really knew how to be a dad because his father wasn't in his life. And he had different mans that my grandmother was with, that she had kids with these men, and they was like his father figures. But we know how that story is, right? A man, like, especially if they was not married, a man's gonna take care of his own before he takes care of somebody else's. This is back then in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s, 70s, early 70s. You know what I'm saying? So I always strive to be, when it came to my kids, to be a father. But I just wanted to give you a little brief, when it comes to my father. So yeah, he had a good job, getting paid weekly. My mom, loving, always taught me. My mom taught me how to survive on the streets. My mom made me street smart, right? You gotta remember, I didn't go to church. Like I said, I knew who God was. I didn't know, at that age, I didn't know if God was a man, a woman. I didn't know that Jesus and God, the Holy Trinity, I didn't know none of, I didn't know nothing, but I believed in them. The thing about my parents, they was on crack. They was crack addicts. This is the 80s. A lot of parents that was in the 80s smoked crack. Some smoked it more than others. So I grew up with the dope man's kids being my friends. I would spend the night over their house and watch their daddy break down an 8-ball. Just walking past him and he's at the kitchen table. And we go in the room and eat pizza and play Nintendo. This is the life that I lived. My best friends was who my mom used to cop drugs from. I remember, at a young age, my mom used to shoplift. And she'll take me with her. And, she'll put stuff in my coat. And, when you're that young, it's bad. You know it's bad. But, as long as she got me some baseball cards or, a He-Man, because, you sell those in the grocery stores, I was happy to go with her. Because I knew I was going to get some candy or, candy bars and, baseball cards or whatever. She'll take that for me and I'll come home and I lived in motels growing up. Never had a house, people. I never had a house. Never lived in a house. My family never lived in a house. I lived with relatives in their house, but I never lived in a house of my own. My own and, my immediate family. I grew up living in motels through, the years of my elementary years. So from kindergarten all the way to, I want to say, 4th grade, where I went to like 7 different elementary schools. And that was hard on me because I had a speech problem. Pronunciating words was hard. I might still not pronunciate a word here and there, but going to different schools in different cities, maybe one school might be more advanced than the school that I came from, or maybe the school that I came from was more advanced than the school that I'm going to now, so technically I'm not learning anything, and it's hard, you make friends and I'm going to schools where, it's predominantly white students, and I'm the only black, maybe two other people in the whole school. So I was tall, so I stood out. Or I'll go to a school where it was nothing but Hispanics, living in Pomona at the time, going to motels there, living in motels there. I went to school with all Asians. I always try to look at the good from the situations I've been in. And honestly, going to all these different schools and blending in with all these races, it kind of helped me out later on in life that I could be around a lot of different races and blend in and know a little bit about their culture and how to be around these different races, but it was hard going to school because, since I couldn't pronunciate words, it made it difficult to read. I had a problem reading, had a problem spelling, because to be able to spell, you got to be able to pronunciate. And since I had a speech problem, I couldn't really pronunciate the words correctly to spell them out, and I couldn't really read the words, to read them out. So I was the kid that had to be funny. You know, I had to be the funny kid. I had to be the athletic kid, you know, at these schools. So I had to be good at basketball, good at football, good at kickball. And, you know, I had friends here and there, but like I said, it was always hard because I'll go to that school for a couple months and then we'll be moving to another motel, you know. And I don't know why we was moving into so many motels. I really don't know why. But like I said, my parents was on crack. And I don't know if that had something to do with it. It probably did. Like I said, my dad always made money, but when that crack gets a hold of you, you do things, you know, your money, you spend money, you know, on drugs, and it's not normal. I watched my dad abuse my mom. I watched that growing up. You know, my dad is about 6'3", and my mom is like 5'6", but she's like a petite size, you know. She was always small. And I would watch my dad abuse my mom, but, you know, I believe some of it was because she took the money, the rent money or something, and spent it on crack. Or, you know, they was always arguing and fighting. I had to witness that. You know, I got 2 sisters. I'm the oldest, and I had, you know, it was hard because I love my sisters. All these videos is gonna be hard, but it has to be done. It has to be done. I love my sisters. You know, my mom would get caught. I remember one time we went to the store. We lived in Pomona, and you know, we didn't have a car, so you know, me and my mom, we walked to the store. We had to go across these train tracks, and it was a little walk. I had to be about, I was in first grade, so I was about 6 years old. And I remember going to the store with my mom, and we was leaving out the store, and it was a cop car right there, and she got caught stealing. And I had the stuff on me that she put inside me in my coat. And I remember my mom telling me, "You a big boy." You gotta walk home. And I just remember walking and looking back and watching my mom get put in a police car. And, you know, my dad's working. We living in a motel. And I remember walking home, and it was a little walk. It wasn't like a, you know, down the street. It was a little walk. And I'm crying the whole way home. And I remember getting home. So if I'm around 6, my sister, she's about 4, and then you know, I get home and I tell Dad, and I say, he's like, "Where your mom at?" And I'm crying. And I said, she's in the police car. And he hops up and he tells me to stay in the house and watch your sister. And he goes to go see where she's at. And I remember he came back home, Mom wasn't there. They already done took her. And, she was locked up. I think she had some warrants already on her for whatever reason. And she had to be in jail for about a month or 2. And I remember, my dad telling me, like, he would have to go to work, and I would have to watch my little sister. In this motel room. And he was telling me, don't go to the door, don't look out the window. And, we'll eat cereal or make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I would give it to her, and we would watch cartoons and TV until he came home. And that was not the first time my mom would be gone and something like that happened. It was always it would be times where she'd get caught by the police or have warrants and get caught, and then she would spend some time in jail. And when she came home, we'd be, seeing our mom, and we'd be joyful and happy, and hugs and kisses and stuff like that. And that was hard. That was part of me growing up. The older I got, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. I'll continue. I can pull up at work, so I gotta get these tears and stuff. I'll continue. Thank you.